Okay, we're up to Chaf Ches Amid Beis, the Mishnah. Chaf Ches Amid Beis, the Mishnah. So until now, we've been dealing with our first Mishnah dealt with four brothers, two married to two sisters. The two brothers married to two sisters die, and consequently, the two brothers these two Yevamot fall in front of two brothers. The Mishnah said that you give chalitza to both because the achos kukaso, you have sikah of both of them. So what happens if these two fall to one? You have three brothers. And they fall to one. Well, let's say one is married to an isha and bita, a woman, and one brother married a woman, another brother married a daughter, and they both die. And now they're falling in front of the brother. One brother married the daughter, and one brother married the granddaughter. In other words, these two co-wives, they're not co-wives because they're not falling from the same husband. They're falling to their sister-in-laws, but they're arroyos. In addition to be sister-in-laws, because they're married to two brothers, there is an erva. Now they're falling in front of a single individual, but they're two ervas. So what's the halacha? Says the Mishnah. Shloisha achin, you have three brothers. Shnayim mehem nesu and shtei achayos. Two of them are married. So Reuven, Shimon, and Levi. Reuven and Shimon are married to two sisters. Ayishu Bita, or Reuven and Shimon are married to one woman and a daughter. Ayishu Baspina, or Reuven and Shimon are married to one woman and a granddaughter. Ayishu Baspina, a granddaughter from a son. Now, what happens? These two die, and now they're falling in front of Levi. They give chalitza, and they can't do yibum because they're kroivas sukukasai. They're kroivim in the zika. You have two kroivim coming together. The zika, they come to you in front. You should be able to go ahead and do yibum and yibum to either one or both, guys, because they're two separate houses. They're coming. As you could do yibum to Ruvain, and you could do yibum to Shimon. That would be a normal situation. But since these two are relatives, you cannot do it. So what do? You do chalitza. So Shimon Paita says with Shimon in this situation, guys, this is an erva de'oraisa. And it's pata. One very good rule of thumb in Yevamot that we can ascertain: if any time a woman falls to yibum and chalitza and she's off the hook, it has to be a derisitic source. Because if it's rabbinical, you can give chalitza. In other words, chalitza is the easy way out. You want to deal with any zika from a dead brother, give chalitza. But if you can't give chalitza or yibum, right, then it has to be a derisitic source. So therefore, if Rav Shimon's of the opinion that two women falling to him are free, that you don't have to do anything, it must be it's deraisa. And we'll have to look for it, okay? So we have two women falling, they're sisters. Two women falling, it's a mother and a daughter, or a mother and a granddaughter, so far and so forth. In that situation, Tanakama says you give chalitza, they're craving zukwasai, and Reb Shimon says you have pata. That's what it says. A second din in the Mishnah. So therefore, our case, you have two women falling. One of them falling is Levi is married to this woman's daughter. So Levi's mother-in-law is falling to him. In other words, Reuven, Shimon, Levi. Levi marries the girl, and Reuven marries the girl's mother. Good. And now falling in front of Levi are two women: Reuven's wife, who's his mother-in-law, and Shimon's wife, who is what is an erva. It's not an erva. It's squeaky clean. So what would the halacha be? Reuven's wife goes free, and you do chalitza even to Shimon's wife, but there's nothing stopping it. So it says that the lashon of the Gemara. Asaba, it's asa and har. They're two sisters, and one you'll be permitted in the sister. Issa mitzvah, issa kedusha. Let's say Reuven marries the two brothers married to two sisters. Reuven married the grandmother, right? The grandmother. So now they're falling in front of you. You have an issa mitzvah. In that case, so we've seen all these din before, and the Gemara is going to have to go through them again. So again, the first chiddush is like Reb Shimon, Yapata. Like Reb Shimon, if you have two people coming together, two sisters coming together, Yapata. Any craving coming together, Yapata. A second din, a din if you have an erva, two sisters, one's an erva, one's not, you give yibum to the one that's not, and the Erev goes free. And the second, and if it's not an Erev, but it's a grandmother mitzvah of it's a mitzvah, or then what? You can go ahead and do chalitza. Okay. Tanya, Rav Shimon paita b'shteyim min chalitza min yibum. So again, Rav Shimon, you have two women falling, and one of them happens to be two sisters. It's either, let's say, two sisters. Now, what's happening, guys? When these two sisters are coming to one person, they're now becoming shtickle co-wives. Reuven dies, Shimon dies. They're both falling in front of Levi. Good. So they're both kind of tsaris because there's a zika to Levi. Levi's got to do something to these two women. So says the Gemara, Tanya, Reb Shimon paita b'shteyim min chalitza min yibum. As I told you, if you're going to get off the hook completely, there must be a derisitic source. There must be. Shenemar, again, the isha el achaisa, a woman and a sister, leisikach, there should be no kiddushin, litzrar. What does that mean? B'shash shenasu tsaras zu lezu, right? And with the time they become tsaras to each other, lo yeh l'chalekuchin, lo yisikach, there is no kiddushin. So when these two are falling to this one, are falling, right? They become what? Achas ukuka. So in that scenario, since they become tsaras at this point in time, lo yisikach, v'isha el achaisa lo yisikach litzrar. The time litzra, they become tsaris, lo yisikach, you don't take. I feel about achas mem, even one of them. Now, we began the perek with four brothers, married to two sisters. The two ones married to the two sisters dying, falling in front of what of the two brothers, Levi and Yehuda. What was the din? Correct? Rav Shimon does not argue on that thing, guys. Look at the second taisvus on the page. This is, you can't move without this taisvus. B'shor shenasas tzurazu lezu, hainu dafka kishenaflu lifnei yavam echad. This is dafka when they fall in front of Levi, and not Levi and Yehuda, just one brother. Aval kishenaflu lifnei yavamim, when they fall in front of two brothers. So Reuven and Shimon die, and they're falling from the Levi and Yehuda. Then Rabbi Shimon's mother, Tanya Le'el, Rabbi Shimon Omer Yekaimu. Shimon said, you should marry them, but if you do, you can keep them. So you see, obviously, guys, that they're not a rayas, or else how can you go ahead and keep them in the first place? Good. So again, very important to note, this mission of Achas Kukasai is speaking falling to one individual. But if you fall to two individuals, if Shimon would agree, it's Achas Kukaso, Chayletzes V'lemis Yabemes, and if you do take them, you could stay together. Okay, and we said he wanted to say it's not machlokes Beis Shammai Hillel, that it's not, it's across the board, right? Okay, guys, you good? Yeah. Okay. The next thing in the Mishnah, Haisa'achas Mehen, one was what? An Issa, one was an Issa, an Erva. So why do we say you have two sisters? One you give what? One you go ahead, goes free, and the other one you do either give or chalitza. Says I mean, that's it. That's it. Says my Lord Shimon. You need to look at Rav Shimon. If they're two sisters, guys, you don't do chalitza and you don't do yibam. You don't now. So what's falling? Two sisters and one's an erva. So I might think ligzor mishum beis achoyos the alma. Guys, what happens if we let you do yibam in a situation where it's two sisters? Guys, look at me. Two sisters are falling. One of them happens to be your mother-in-law. One of them happens to be your mother-in-law. What's the din? She's an erva. And what do you do to the other one? Eat what you want. Yibam more chalitza. Yibam more chalitza, right? The second sister is free and clear. But what happens if it's two sisters, period? They go free. Two sisters are two ervas. They go free. So I would think of Shimon, don't get involved in Yibum. Don't, I would think that since over here, where one you could do Yibum to, I'm scared if you do Yibum over here, you may not do Yibum over here. Kamashman, you don't. What? The other one, no. What? You could. But what about when the two sisters fall? No, these are both cases of two sisters falling. You're just adding one factor. One of the sisters in one of the scenarios happens to be a mother-in-law. So what now? So when there's no mother-in-law, they're nothing. They go free completely. Good. When one's a mother-in-law, you do yibum. I would think like of Shimon, I won't let anyone do even in that situation when one's a mother-in-law. You know why? Because they make him do even the situation when no one's a mother-in-law. And that's an Isra of Eishes Ach. Again, when they become service to each other, guys, a lot of Shimon, you don't need anything. If you don't need anything, it's your brother's wife. It's an Issachar. So you know what? I might think I'm so concerned with Issachar that when two fall and one happens to be your mother-in-law, don't do yibum to the other, because then you may come to do yibum when they both fall. If they both fall, there's no erva, they're both usher. Kamash Malone, we're not worried. How is that? I'm never convinced that if I raise my voice, you understand better, you know? It's like teachers, you think if you raise your voice, there's no guarantee. No guarantee. Does anyone need this one more time? Okay, weiter. Next. One was an Issa mitzvah, and one was, so now, what's the case, guys? Watch. Remember, if Shimon says two sisters, both go free. Two sisters, and one of them happens to be you're married to your grandmother. So now what do? Chalitza to both. That's what we said earlier, guys. Fed the Gemara big kasha. For Amr of Shimon, two sisters, you don't do anything to. Why not? Because in the time when they're not service to each other, it says leisikach. It's an erva. So now, guys, watch. Let's say one of them wasn't your grandmother. What would it then be? They're free, right? They're free. So now, because one of them's your grandmother, you're going to make them give chalitza. They should go free without chalitza. After all, the deraisa dikadin preempts the derabbanan dikadin. The deraisa dikadin is what? I have two atzaris zulazu of erva, right? The eshesach. So what? Just because one of them is what? Is married to your grandmother, you're going to have to give them both chalitza? Why? Midaraisa, they go free. Says the Gemara, Reb Shimon, Shtei Achayis, two sisters, and just because one of them is an Issa mitzvah, meaning what? Is your mother-in-law, why are you going ahead and say you give chalitza? And from there, I'll tell you why. Issa mitzvah de alma. You know what? Really, they should go free with nothing. Midaraisa, everybody go free with nothing. But if they go free with nothing, you know what a person's going to say? 1 second. You know what? A mother-in-law, right? In a situation, a mother-in-law, a grandmother. So in a normal situation, without the fact that there are rayas, you're going to say mata a mother without that. In other words, when it's when the erva is a mitzvah, guys, right? You know you need chalitza. You know you need chalitza. So if you don't do chalitza in this scenario, you may come not to do chalitza in a regular case of Issa mitzvah. Fred the Gemara, if that's the case, hatenach ihi, that explains giving to the mother-in-law, but the grandmother. I keep on saying mother-in-law, the grandmother. Achoisa my iklameimar. Again, the achoisa is she's a freebie. Why does she need chalitza? She should need anything. She should be part of chalitza. Again, guys, one more time. Two sisters that fall like Reb Shimon to one person is an erva. You're out. Well, if one of them happens to be two sisters and one happens to be married, your grandmother, right? Then they're in. Why they're in? Says the Gemara, because you're worried about a scenario where mother-in-law alone, a grandmother alone. Says the Gemara, grandmother alone, so good. Give the grandmother chalitza, but don't give the achaisa, the other sister, chalitza. After all, she's a freebie. She's an erva. Let her go free. That's what the word's asking. Why are you giving chalitza to both? Just give chalitza to the one you're concerned about. You're concerned about a scenario of Issa mitzvah in another regular situation. So go ahead. I'll cover all bases. Give the chalitza to the grandmother and let the other one go free. After all, she's an erva. She's two sisters. Like Reb Shimon says the Gemara. I'll tell you why. If I don't give this sister, you may cannot give to the Issa mitzvah. In other words, latab is a lashon of yamazel. So we give the sister in order to ensure you're going to give to what? To the grandmother. We're giving the sister, you're right. The grandmother should go, the other sister should go free, she's an erva, like Rav Shimon. But since if I don't give to that one, you may not give to the grandmother, and we all worry about Issa mitzvah, so go ahead and do it. What? Mother-in-law's an erva. It's Fred Murakasha. Lagabi erva legas rinon. Fred Dr. Hilly the Gemara's kasha. Why aren't you worried about the last case by mother-in-law? You should give chalitza to the mother-in-law. Says the Gemara, shiny erva, the bigma gemiri la inchi. People know the reason why you don't give it to they know an erva, there's a lach of an erva. The kala is slate. But no one knows over here the din of achas ukukasoi, that the reason they're going free is it's not such a clear-cut din, and they're going to think that it's because of what? Because of the mitzvah. It's the mitzvah. So Mamela, you go ahead and give chalitza across the board in order to cover the mitzvah chalitza, and don't worry about erva that you're not giving the erva chalitza. That's well known to all. Okay, Baruch Hashem, one mishnah down, one more to go. Move the chains.
I'm always confused with this concept that we'll make a mistake. Everything is done in basement. No.
Well, people will say, Beson's not going to make a mistake. People will see this. People will see this.
But you worry about in the future. But in the future, those people are going to go to basement to do chalitza or to eat them. No?
I hear what you're saying. So again, I don't. If people make a mistake, halachically we make. I don't know the answer off the top of my head. I don't know. It's a good question. Okay, let's turn to page 189. Okay, you got 3 brothers married to 2 sisters. One guy's a free agent, right? So Reuben and Shimon are married to Machla and Noah, and Levi is a free agent. Reuven dies. Levi is the only game in town. Shimon can't do anything. It's Achos Ishtai, right? Guys, Shimon can't do anything. It's Achos Ishtai. It's his sister. It's his wife's sister. So the only one who can do something is Levi. Now Levi does something instead of Chalitz, instead of Yibum. He does the preliminary step to Yibum, which is Maimer. He goes ahead and he gives us that money bag. That's Kesef Kedushin. That's the Maimer of what? Of a Yevamot, right? He gives a Maimer. So what's the din? Says Beis Shammai that Machla is right. What? Oh yeah, Shimon dies. Okay, now Shimon's dead. So now you have right now falling in front of Levi is his wife's sister, but it's not totally his wife, is it? Fellas, guys, look at me. Let's say Levi had married Machla, then Noah would be free. That's Achas Ishtai. He doesn't marry her. If he had given her Yibum, be off the hook. He gives her Maimer. Is Maimer enough of a marriage to go ahead and say, that Noah goes free? Or does he have to do something to Noah? Or does he have to go ahead and do something to Machla? In other words, is he stuck between a rock and a hard place? It could be as a result of what? Of this Maimer. It could be that he lucked out, or it could be he created a situation where now, by not doing Yibum, he won't be able to marry Machla. Okay, so Beis Shammai says Machla stays with him, Machla is his wife, and Noah goes free completely, which is a chidush. In other words, he didn't do Yibum. He didn't do Yibum. Well, obviously it's not as good as Yibum, right? What? Again, according to Beis Shammai says that Maimer is koina kinyan gomer, and therefore we'd say that it's knusa, as if he married her, and therefore what? It's achas ishtai, and the other one goes free. Maimer is the money of kedushin that one gives to his yavama. The only way you kind of yavama is with bia through relations, but they were talking that you should give kedushin beforehand. So Maimer is the kedushin beforehand. So now, Beis Hillel says, guess what? Beis Hillel says that he has to divorce Machla with a get and Chalitza, a get for his Maimer, Chalitza for the Zika, and Noah is Eshes After B'Chalitza. She's what? She's the wife, right? B'Chalitza. Okay, so let's see inside. Shloisha Achin, you got 3 brothers. Shnai Masun Shtei Achayas, 2 of them married to 2 sisters. V'Echad Mufna. And then Meis Echad Mibali Achayas. Reuven dies. V'Yaseba Mufna Maimar. And Levi does Maimar to who? To Machla, Shimon, Reuven's wife. V'Achkach Meis Achav Hasheni. And then Shimon dies. Beis Shammai Yoimim Ishtay Imai. Machla stays with him. V'halazu and Noah teitze mishemachas isha. She goes out as what? As his wife's sister. Beis Hillel aimrim moitzi asishta beget ubechalitza. He has to divorce Machla with a get for the Maimer, ubechalitza for the zika of the dead brother. The Eishes achiv bechalitza, and Shimon goes out with chalitza, and Zui Shomru oiloi al ishtoi va'oiloi al Eishes achiv. Woe to him on his wife, and woe to him out on his brother's widow. Because why? He can't do anything to her. He can't do anything to her, and he can't do anything to his wife. In other words, this is a very sad situation. Had he done Yibum, everything would have been hunky-dory, right? Clean and neat. Machla stays with him. Noah goes free. Everything's good. But that's not what happened. As a result of doing Maimar and not finishing the job, like Beis Hillel, so he has to divorce Machla, and he can't do anything for Noah. Yes, right? And there. Okay, that's it. Yeah. Okay, so now let's take a look at page 110. I'm preempting the Gemara because we're gonna have to go here anyway.
Wasn't his fault that the lush of it's a shame this happened, and he did it.
It's the lashon woe that he won't keep. Oy loy alishta, woe that he can't keep it. That's woe to him.
He dug his own grave.
Okay. Anyway, if you look on page 110, so here you have the two brothers married to two sisters, and one of the sisters happens to be a katana. Right? And we said a katana, in order to get rid of her, you don't need a get, you don't need a right, just a or just mion. Just go, you do mion. Okay, so now what happens is that the one married to the Gedolah dies. So Reuven dies. Falling in front of Shimon now is what? Is his wife's sister. He's married to Katana. Shimon's married to Katana, and falling in front of him is what? Is a Yibum Deraisa. So he is Mikudeshes to the Katana, a Kedushi Derabanan, guys. Again, I put the name Shimon there. Shimon is married to the Katana, Kedushi Derabanan, and he has a Yibum of the Gedolah falling in front of him. What do you do in this scenario? So let's see. So we're going to have three opinions. We're going to have Rabbi Eliezer's opinion, we're going to have Rabbi Gamliel's opinion, and we're going to have Yeshua's opinion, okay? So here's the three opinions. The first one, Rabbi Eliezer says, we tell the Katana to do Miyon. What would Miyon do? That would go ahead and uproot the Kedushin completely. So who's now is falling to Ruvain? The Gedolah. So therefore, the next column on the left, you go ahead and you do Yibum. Because the Zika that the Gedolah had to Ruvain to Shimon is stronger than what? Than the Isser of the Katana, because it's only Kedusha D'Rabbanan. That's Rabbi Eliezer's Eitzah. Rabbi Eliezer's Eitzah was again, we want to go ahead and do Yibum, get the problem of the Zika D'Rabbanan out of the way, do Miyon, boom, easy enough. Says Rabbi Gamliel, you wait till the Katana gets older, then he's Makadosh the Katana, who's now a Gedolah. Now the wife of Reuven would be usher on him, would be Achas Ishto. He holds Ein Zika. In other words, he holds Ein Zika. This is where we had this before. He holds Ein Zika, so therefore he's able to still live with the Katana. He's able to still be with the Katana. There's no Zika to asa him. Like Rabbi Eliezer, there's a Zika to asa him. So that's the second Eitzah. So guys, they're conflicting Eitzahs. Like Rabbi Eliezer, you do something to marry the Gedolah. Like Rabbi Gamliel, you do something to stay married to the Katana. Right? Comes along Rabbi Yeshua, and you know what he does? Gets rid of both of them. He comes along, he gets rid of both of them. What does he do? He says, you divorce, you give chalitza to the Gedolah, and you divorce to the Katana. You have to divorce your wife because it's a Zika. And then you what? And then the Katana, you give a get to, and then you give good, then it's Achas Kurusha So. And since it's Achas Kurusha So, you go ahead and give chalitza to the other one. So now, this case of Rabbi Yeshua is similar to our case. Of course, it's woe that he's losing his wife, and woe he's losing what? The Katana. He's losing his Eishasach, right? So those are the two. Again, there's nothing, no right or wrong. We're dealing with halacha. This is not a Hasidic share. We're dealing with litvak facts. What's the law, right? Wrong, not wrong. Again, That you got to seek over. You got to deal with it. Guy drops dead. He did nothing wrong. Also, he also dropped dead, right? He didn't do anything wrong. That creates a problem. How do we deal with this problem? Wrong, not wrong. How do we deal with this problem, right? How are we doing? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be so. Okay. So
doesn't hold me to take care of the Zika.
What? No. So therefore, we have Rabbi Yeshua being similar to our Mishnah to Beis Hillel. In both cases, you're losing both women, right? So now the Gemara wants to know. The last case of the Mishnah, the last line was, Zuhi Shamru, this is what they say, Oh lo alishto, woe to him on his wife, below al Eshasachiv, and woe to him on what? On his brothers, that he can't stay with either one. His wife he can't stay with. Why? Because of the Maimer, it's Asha as Achas Zukuka so, and now he can't stay with the other one because it's Achas Gerusha so. Now, Zui Lamute Mai. What does the Zu? Zu means this. It means this to preclude something else. And for the Gemara Lamute Hachter Rabbi Yeshua, the Le'avdina Kaba say, we don't hold like Rabbi Yeshua, Ella Ikreb Gamliel, we hold like Rabbi Gamliel to wait till they get older, and then the Machla will be Aser. Ikreb Eliezer, we go ahead and do Miyan, and therefore the Katana will be Aser, and Machla will be Mutter. Guys, good? So now, you wouldn't understand this Gemara key was there without seeing that chart, but now we filled in the blanks. Now, right? You do like either Rabbi Eliezer or Rabbi Gamliel, not like Rabbi Yeshua. That's the Zuhi, right? That's the Zuhi over here. Okay, hold on. Until now, everything's been good. I'm talking to myself. Says the Gemara. Amar Rebbe Lazar. Now, guys, outside, how do you view Maimer, like Beis Shammai? Says Beis Shammai, I got two sisters. I did Maimer to one. The other one is out. Good. So now, it must be that Maimer, you must be considered fully married to Machla. And now Noah's going free because she's Achos Ishto. She's your wife's sister. That's one way to view it. Another way to view it is, no. Maima is not kind of Kinyan Gomer. But what Maima does, it reserves, it reserves this woman for you and nothing can stop it. We'll see in Nafkamin and Alacha. In Nafkamin would be, you would still need Chalitza. Guys, that's listen, Mandy, listen well. Guys, if Maimer is kind of Kinyan Gomer, meaning she's your full-fledged wife, then you would just have to divorce her and not give a chalitza. But if Maimer is not kind of Kinyan Gomer, that there's still a Zika there, even if it protects you from the other girl messing up your shidduch, you'd still have to give a chalitza in addition to a get. That would be the nafkamina. So there's two ways to view Maimer. I can view Maimer as what? As mamish marriage. In other words, it's equal to Yevamot. It's equal to doing Yibum. Therefore, Noah is not going to go ahead and make you Asr as Achas Zukuka so, because you just married a woman and she's Asr to as Achas Ishto. Or no, Maimer does create a reservation that this one is considered an erva, that it can't affect you, but nonetheless, you would still need a chalitza if you would so end this union. Says the Gemara, Amar Rebbe Lazar, don't say Maimer leBeis Shammai koinen kinyan gomer. Right? Don't say that Maimer leBeis Shammai would make her a full-fledged wife, which means the iboy lafuke sagila begita. If you want to go ahead and end this union, you can do it by just giving her a get without chalitza, right? Again, Maimer koinen kinyan gomer, full-fledged wife, no chalitza. No, don't say that. Ela Maimer leBeis Shammai eina koina, ela to the extent lidchais bitzara bilvad. To go ahead and make this, that what? To push away the tzara, that the tzara cannot asa your wife to you. Ela what? Maima makes that what? It makes your tzara an erva. It makes your tzara achas ishto, and therefore you can't marry her, and she can't mess up your marriage. That's what Maima can do. But if you'd want to end the union with Machla, you would need, in addition to a get, you would need chalitza for the zika, because it's not koine kinyan gomer. That's the difference. So Amar of
you said before chalitza, like perhaps you like on a derisive level, on a much stronger level. Chalitza.
I don't understand what you just said.
So mine is like you're there, but it's kind of like it's a lesser level than. I would say Maimer is stronger because you're one step closer. Yibum is your final say is Yibum, but if you don't do, once you say Maimer strengthens the strength, it tells no, you're one step closer. You're one step closer. Now, Maimer is not Yibum. Again, according to one lashon, it is. According to again, this is only in Beis Shammai. There's only Beis Shammai. Maimer according to Beis Hillel is not Kohen Kinyan Gomer. So now, Omer Abavin, Afanami Nami Tanina. I can bring you a raya, guys. I'll bring you a raya that Maimer is not Kohen Kinyan Gomer. It just pushes away the chalutz. It reserves your wife for you and goes ahead and keeps the achas ishto away. Beis Shammai says that if you go ahead and in the first Mishnah, guys, right? You kaimu. Beis Shammai was of the opinion if two brothers marry two sisters, and rather than giving them chalitza, again you have four brothers. The first case, instead of going ahead and giving chalitza, you marry them. You would think that my family would know what I do every single night at 8:15 until 9:15. It's been going on at least close to 30 years. But I guess they're slow learners. Okay, anyway. So now, 2, 2, 4, 2, right? Chlitza, Yibam stay together. So now, Tanina, Beis Shammai Yikaimu means Yikaimu in Lechatchila lo. Now let's take it one step further. Guys, look at me. Look at me. If you're telling me, guys, look at me. Guys, look. You look. If you're telling me Maimer has the capacity to go ahead and take the place of Yibum, right? So what was the first Mishnah? 4 brothers, 2 sisters. The 2 brothers go. You have 2 and 2 left. Why we said you give chalitza to both. Now, if you tell me Maimer is Kohen Kinyan Gomer, why don't you just give Maimer to each one? But we said you can't do that. So it must be Maimer. It's not Kohen Kinyan Gomer. In other words, when we said give chalitza to both, it's mashma. You have no option to go ahead and do yibum because says the Gemara. Maimer leBeis Shammai Kohen Kinyan Gomer. If you're going to tell me Maimer according to Beis Shammai acquires completely, so Yaseh Maimer. Why don't you do Maimer to the 2 remaining brothers? Do Maimer to the 2 sisters. V'yikna. This one should do Maimer to one and be kainaha, and this one should do Maimer to the other one and be kainaha. So now, obviously, it must be that what? That Maimer is not Kohen Kinyan Gomer. Elamai. What do you have to say? Doicha dechia gemura. So no, say well, okay. So what are you going to say, guys? So what does Maimer do? Maimer does one of 2 things. It either makes the one you do with your wife, or it pushes away the other one. Good. That's the 2 possibilities. It either makes the one you did it to your wife, or it reserves this one to you that now this other one can asa. So Fred the Gemara Kasha, even if Maimer does the secondary, you still should be able to do it and not give yibum. Again, what do I want to do? What do I want to accomplish? I want to say that if you give Maimer, then each woman would be permitted to you. So when it says b'di'eved yikaimu, but not lechatchila, it must be that Maimer is not an option. It must be Maimer is not an option. Why? Because it's not Kohen Kinyan Gomer. Fred the Gemara, even if it's not Kohen Kinyan Gomer, it is an option. Because again, what does it do? It reserves this particular woman for you. So therefore, even if Maimer does not make her your wife, but just reserves, so you do Maimer, reserve this one for you. The other brother does Maimer to the other one, reserves from him, and everyone goes free, hunky dory, everything's good. So your raya is obviously not nishkan raya. Says the Gemara, Elamai, the dechia gemura. You're going to say that what? That Maimer is dach dechia gemura. Let each one do Maimer to the prospective sister, push away the other one. Now, so obviously that's not an 8. So why? Because Beis Shammai said Yikaimu, that you can't do it. What are you forced to say, guys? What are you forced to say? Maimer de hetera dachi, the isura loy dachi. Hachanami Maimer afilu madyamam. Okay, now what does that mean? What does that mean? What's our Mishnah, guys? 2 brothers married to 2 sisters. One dies, falls to this brother. This brother gives that one Maimer. Is everything fine with that? Did anyone do anything wrong? Avi, here's your right and wrong. Did anyone do anything wrong there? No. 1 Yevamot, 1 brother, Maimer, great. Guys, 2 brothers, 2 sisters. You give Maimer. Are you doing something wrong?
Sure you are. It's achos sekukaso. You're not supposed to give the maimer. You're not supposed to. So the chilik between the two, what do you have to say? Even the maimer over here is maimer. There's a difference between a maimer that you mutter to do and a maimer that's not mutter to do. Therefore, in the maimer that's mutter to do over here, it could be kind of kinyan gomer. It could. You want to bring a raya from what? The Mishnah over there, 2 and 2. That's a different maimer. That's a maimer of what? Of Issa. That's a maimer, right? You're not supposed to do that maimer. So what do you have to say? Maimer de teira dachi. Maimer, when she falls in one person pushes away the second one. When Shimon dies, it doesn't answer Ruvain's widow on Levi because it's achas ishto, because Levi was mutter to do Maimer. The surah loy dachi, but where Machla and Noah fall in front of Shimon and Levi and the achas kukaso, in that scenario, what? That it would be dacha. So Chanami Maimer I feel Maimer kind of kinyan gomer. Even to say Maimer is coming kinyan gomer in a case of what? Of 2 and 2, you won't say that. So you have no raya from here whatsoever to the status of what Maimer does, because your proof that you want to bring from your kaimu is not a proof. Okay, the same Gemara, just a different lashon. In other words, guys, in the first lashon we wanted to say Maimer is what is kinyan gomer. Here we want to say that Maimer what is dachi. So Ashi Masni Hachi. Here's the way he learned Rebbe Lazar. Rebbe Lazar. Lo Tamer, don't say Lebe Shammai that dachi dechia gemura. Don't say that it pushes away the tzara completely with tzarasa chalitza nami leboi, and therefore the tzara would need chalitza. El doichu u'mashayer. It pushes away and leaves over. In other words, it reserves the woman to you, meaning Ruvain will be able to stay with Machla, but it's Meshaya that what? You still have to give chalitza to what? To Noah. You still have to give chalitza to Noah. Amra Bavin, Afananami Tanina. If you can tell me it pushes away Noah completely, let go ahead. One does Machla, one does Noah. What do you have to say? Guys, 1 second. You're telling me in our Mishnah that what over there, b'di'eved, you're doing this and this, and you do chalitza, and you have to do chalitza. How can you tell me that Maimer doesn't make an ishta gomer? From our Mishnah, what did we say? We said that if he gives a Maimer, the other one goes totally free. You don't have to do anything. Mm-hmm. How come, guys, in the first Mishnah, the 2 and 2, and the first Mishnah, 2 and 2, you're saying, right, it's lo yikaimu, yikaimu, but you shouldn't do lichatchila. And over here it's saying, 1 second, lichatchila, guess what? It pushes away completely. So you see, Maima is doicha dechia gemura by the fact that, again, in our Mishnah, you go totally free. Again, the other woman, guys, you're not doing chalitza to. Right. But if Maima is not doicha dechia gemura, how's she going totally free? Again, what's the kasha? When you said 2 and 2, why? Because it's not, when you marry one, marry the other, it's not getting rid of it completely. So it's a good raya. Says the Gemara, and I'm afraid the more from our Mishnah, you see that what it does give it Elamah, the answer is going to be the same answer. You can't compare Heta and you can't compare it to Issa. So, but they say it in a different lashon. Ella, what are you forced to say? Yevamot dechazi lekula. Our Mishnah, where Ruvain's widow fall in front of Levi, and he could have done everything. He could have done Yibum and Chalitza. Chazi l'miktsasa. It's Chazi to Parshi, which is Maimer. Chazi l'miktsasa means part of the Yibum process, which is Maimer. Yevamot loy chazi lekula. The two brothers falling to two sisters, guys. The first case, which only is Chalitza, loy chazi l'miktsasa. It's not seen to Maimer. It's another fancy way of saying there's a chiluk between the Maimaris. The bottom line is we want to push the shaila either way, what it does. Okay. Now we know that in Kiddushin, there's 2 steps to marriage, a Jewish marriage. The first part, a man would be Mekadesh and Isa. He'd give her kesef shtar, and then he would go ahead and she would be called an arusa. 12 months later, she'd be given, go to what's called chuppah, and now she's fully married. It's called, or chuppah or nesuin. That's a synonymous term. Chuppah or nesuin. Bisman hazeh, guys, chuppah is one of 3 ways. But chuppah, obviously, when you think of chuppah, you think of the marital canopy. That's one. Actually, there's one chuppah that takes place before. That's called the badekin. Because, guys, the badekin that's chuppah, because chuppah means to cover. So badekin, you're covering. And the third opinion of chuppah is you take into your rishus. That's after they get married. the reason they go into a room if they get married is not to give them quality time together if they just got married, which is a nice thing. But the reason they go into a room is that is chuppah. You're taking it into your domain. As a matter of fact, you should rent the room and make it your domain. You give a buck or two to the caterer and make it your room. And if you ever want to be Masada Kedushin, that's what you should do. And brings it into your domain. Okay. So now, what does Maimer do? If Maimer does Nesuin, you don't need chuppah. If Maimer does only Erisin, you would need chuppah. That's the discussion over here. So boy Rabba, Maimer lebeis Shammai, Nesuin oisin or Erisin oisin. Maimer, according to Beis Shammai, does it do Nesuin or Erisin? So I'm like so what halacha would it make a difference? Well, you know the answer. I gave you a heads up. If you're telling me liyarsha, meaning as an arusa you won't inherit, but as an asua you would. Well, a tamala, the inyabi metam if you're a kayin. Well, a hyphen the recha. Hashta arusa ba'alma tani rabchia. Ishtay arusa, a woman who's an arusa loy oinain. There's no din of aninus if the husband dies. But metamala, and if she dies, there's no aninus. And if she dies, and it's a kayin, it can't be metama to her. The he loy oinenes. She's no din of aninus on him. Now there's no dinner of a bas kohen lilian tumah. She's not nisr. So Rashi speaks out in the regel. By the regel, he's supposed to be tahar. Therefore, there will be no dinner of her becoming tamei b'shas regel. Mesa ain't a yareshes. If she dies, she doesn't inherit her. Mace who gav ksuvasa. If he dies, she collects the ksuba, provided it was the ksuba me'erison. We'll see that. Avid b'maimer, right? Mi boile. Says the Gemara. What's the shaila? A regular arusa. None of these apply. You can tell me if she's like, if the mimer is like a rusa, it would apply. No, that obviously is not the tzad. Guys, a regular rusa you wouldn't inherit. Mimer would. Says it must be regarding whether you have to give over the chuppah. What? The suin oisa, it makes the suin. In other words, mimer does two things. It does the kedushin and the chuppah, and therefore he just has to live with her. You don't need masir l'chuppah. Fellas, if you don't need Masir l'chuppah, he can Yevamot, guys, look outside. Yevamot yavay aleha afilu bal karcha. We said a Yevamot, even against the will, he can make yabim her. If he needs chuppah, can't. So in other words, Maimah would make it worse. Guys, Maimah will make it worse. Guys, listen to this. We're going to see in the Gemara in a second. If he was a regular Yevamot and did nothing and just lived with her, he can take her against her will. If he does Maimer, then if it's Erisin, you would need chuppah, and if it makes chuppah, you would go ahead and what? You would not be taken against their will. So Maimer would make it worse. If it makes Nesuin, then it does make a difference. Says the Gemara. Amalei hashtale oven Maimer ksiv Yevamot yavel leha bal karcha avava Maimer mivoy. Now, as I told Heshi, why would making Maimer make it worse, guys? L'chari, you're one step closer, correct? Says Amalei, no, it does make it worse. Shani Oimer, I say the following: Kala Oisem Maimer b'Yevimtai. Anyone who makes Maimer in his Yevama, Parcha mimenu zikas Yevamim, it leaves the zikas of Yevamim, the Chol of zikas Erisin, and it will be Chal what zikas Erisin. In other words, it does make it worse. Yeah. A man can't take his arusa against her will. He could take a Yevama against the will. So if you do Yevama, you know what happens with Maimer? It connects you to her. But you know what it connects to her? It connects to her no longer right as a Yevama, but in a Kedushin dik way. Not as a Yevama, but as a you still need Chalitza Pashtus, which is interesting. Okay, so very good. Toshma. Let's be Paisha the Shaila. Okay, so again, what's a Shaila? Do you, in other words, let's say it succinctly. If you give Maimer, do you need chuppah or not? That's really the Shaila. Forget the Lashon, the Erisin and Suin. If you give Maimer, do you need a chuppah or not? If you give Maimer, meaning can I take her against the will or not? That's the nafkamina. In other words, if you give Maimer, can you still take her against the will like Yevama, or no, now you can't take her against the will? That's the Shaila. Breaking it down. Says the Gemara, Toshma. Shemeres Yavam, a woman who's waiting for Yibum to be performed for her. Bein Yavam Echad, whether she has one Yavam. Bein Shnei, there's two people who possibly can go ahead wide and do it. Then I really should preface this, guys. I'm sorry, I should preface this. The Psukim at the beginning of Parshas Matos describes the ability for a husband to go ahead and take off the darim of a wife. A husband can be made for the daughter of a wife, but by young the day he hears it. Is the relationship between a Yavam and a Yavama one of man and wife that he could take off Hanadarim? Can he nullify Hanadarim? Says the Gemara. Shemeres Yavam, Ben Yavam Mechem, and Shnei Yavamim, they both can do. They can take it off. Yezika, in other words, Yezika. So therefore, what? It's strong. They consider a wife. You can take it off. One and not two. Clearly, Rabbi Kiva does not hold a zika. We said that earlier in the Masechta. Since he holds ein zika, so there's no relationship of man and wife. So therefore, of course, I feel lechad. Rabbi Shua lechad yesh zika l'treyein zika. Rabbi Shua to one zika is strong enough for one, for not for two. So therefore, one could take it off, but not two. El Rabbi Eliezer he nami deksava yesh zika bishleim lechad mefer el l'trei amai. Why can either one do it? L'chayra, if you hold yesh zika and even two, you need both of them to do it, guys. You need both of them b'shutfis to take it off. In other words, you would need both Yevamim to take it off. So Amar Rav Ami, Hachamayaskina, what are we dealing with over here? Kigoin, the Ovid B'Maimer. You know why he can take it off? Because he did Maimer. He did Maimer. Now, guys, if Maimer can take off a neder, it must be it's in the suin. Because in Arusa, you can't take it off. Maimer Marasa, you need both. You need the husband and the Oris. Says the Gemara, Beishamah Dama Maimer Kani Kinyan Gomer. So very good. So mine is kind of kinyan gomer. Therefore, that one person can take it off. Now, Bishleim and the Suin Oisen. Bishleim, you can tell me it's the Suin, and therefore it's a full-fledged husband. Misham Hachi Mefer. Therefore, the Yavam has an ability to take off his Yavama's neder. Arusin Oisen. If you're saying it only makes Erisin, now as once a man gets married before the Suin, then you need both father and Baal, the Oris, to take it off. Yeah, I mean, how could the Yavam alone take it off? The Tanakh, the Mishnah says in Masechta Nedarim, Naira Murasa, a girl who's betrothed, meaning a girl whose father accepted Erison. She's over 12 years old. She's between 12 and 12 and a half. Avia ubayla meifir in the dereha. Both guys, Avia ubayla meifir in the dereha. So over here, guys, if you're telling me that it makes an oros, there's no way that he would be able to take it off. So when you're telling me the Shemeres Yavam could remove the neder, obviously you must be the husband, you must be Nesuin, that it makes Nesuin. And therefore you do not need chuppah. Or else, how could he take off the neder? He would need what? In conjunction with the father. Says Gemara, on Rav Nachman by Yitzchak, my mefer, when it says over here, it can be mefer, you know what it means? Bishotfis, einachinami. It means with the father. So it can sign that it only does Erison, and it doesn't do Nisuin, and you would need Mesiras L'chuppah. Over here, you could take it off. Even if it does Erison, you could take it off with in Shutfis in partnership with the father. Fred the Gemara, Ulav Lazar, the Omar, Maimel Beishame, Eina Koina, Elo Litches, the Tzar Bulvad, Amai Mefer B'Shutfis. Now, Light Rebbe Lazar Beishamai, there's no kinyan. I mean, we said the only kinyan was to push away that what reserve, sort of say this machla for him, but nothing else. How could it be made for b'shutfis? Like where's he getting involved over here? So I'm like Rabbi Lazar. Rabbi Lazar will tell you, when do I say that what that he's a reserved? That it's not enough. In other words, that it's not enough to go ahead and it's not koina kinyan that you would be able to give a get rid of her with a get without chalitza. But lahafin the real mi'aminan, I never addressed that. There's no havamina that what you could go ahead and do that. In other words, that you would never be able to go ahead and I never would go ahead and say that it's doicha that you consider the father to the extent that you're the husband to do b'shutfis. So the first teretz is to that. In other words, we answer the kasha. You want to bring a raya that's nesuin because you couldn't be made from the nedarim. You have no raya. Why? Because if it's speaking mat like Rebbe Love, it's speaking that it's speaking b'shutfis. You could be beres and speaking b'shutfis. Fred Gemara like Rebbe Eliezer says it does pushes this off. Why could you be made for the neder? Rebbe Eliezer says you can't be made for the neder. No shaykhs to it. All I said was simply that what if he gives a mimer, she's reserved for him. If he wants to get rid of her, he still has to give her a get because it's not kind of more than that. And Linyan Nedarim, he can't do anything. Period. V'bayis Ema, Amalach Rebbe Elazar, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, who says you could be made for b'shutfis. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says, God, you could be made for b'shutfis with the father. Mi nicha, is it possible to say that it's a shutfis? Mi ketana yaferu. Did they say yaferu? Did they say they go ahead and take it off? Yafer ketani, he takes it off. He takes it off. So in other words, that teretz is not going to wash. What's your teretz, guys? It must be it's nesuin when he can take it off. Says the Gemara, no, it's erisin and he takes it off in conjunction with the father. How can you say it's erisin takes it off in conjunction with the father? It didn't say they take it off. It says yafer, he removes it alone. So it must be a raya that what? That it does nesuin. That it must be a full-fledged father, husband. Says the Gemara, Ella, what do you have to say? Hachamay askinan. It's speaking, guys. So therefore, right now you'd say that's kind of kinyan gomer. It makes nesuin. No, it doesn't make nesuin. It's speaking sham dabedin. Here's what happened. This girl, she knows she can't get married until either chalitza or yibum is performed. She's a vamal shuk. The kedushin is not toifus. She's asla completely good. So now, what's happening over here? He says she goes to Bezdin and says he doesn't want to give me chalitza. He doesn't want to give me yabim. So what do? They say, listen, you guys don't want to do something. You still got to feed her. Upaskalam is zaynis mishaloi. The Yavam has to give from his own property. He has to support her. Her husband's dead. She's not going to support it. So he has to support it from the own property. Now, once he has to support it from the own property, so her mindset is, this is my husband. And therefore he's able to be made for because of that mindset. So you have no raya that Maimer is going to make an asua. It's a special umdana. It's a special specific case where since he's providing for her already, forget the Maimer, since he's providing for her already, he's considered the husband vis-a-vis Hafaras Nadarim. Pinchas mishmei the Rava, like the Amora of Pinchas, the Amora of Pinchas mishmei the Rava named Rava. Kol noidrois, any woman who makes a neder, al das baila hinodera. She's making a das that he could take it off. And who's a balin in this? It's the balin in this is considered what is the one who put her, who's supporting her. Thank you for listening.